After completing the printer challenge, we decide to go out of order and do some of the challenges that we think are going to be a little bit easier because we want that sweet, sweet dopamine hit again. And we're probably lacking in serotonin due to just sitting on our behinds for a very long time. We're gonna do the SPLUNK challenge and answer a number of questions. To do this, we're running back down Jack Frost's tower, which might I add is a bit weird that he doesn't have a floor 13. What's up with that? Maybe that's a secret. Either way, we enter Santa's Great Hall. Hang on, Santa's Great Hall. Is this a Harry Potter reference? Anyway, where were we? It took us about 20 to 30 minutes to complete this particular SPLUNK challenge, and it wasn't too difficult. The first task, we need to look at Eddie's common commands and get a list of the most common Git-related command lines. Using the sysmon operational sources, we look for any description, which is essentially a process creation and has an image containing Git. Then we count by the command line and sort by the count, and we get Git status as the answer. Looking through the Git commands that Eddie ran, we need to now determine the remote repository he configured as the origin for the Panther API repository. We expanded on our previous search to query for any command line containing partner API, and we get 3 commands. Basically, the syntax of what to do with Git here stumped me, and I couldn't remember exactly what was the correct answer. Basically, the one I didn't think was correct, so I guess I need to work on remembering my Git command line parameters. He essentially just took the 3 answers and brute forced it because there were only 3 available. The partner API project that Eddie worked on uses Docker, so the next question that we need to answer is essentially gathering the full Docker command line that Eddie used to start the partner APO project on his workstation. We started looking at any image containing partner API, but this was a silly approach. The standard syntax to start any Docker container is docker compose up, and it uses the files in your current working directory, so we began to think maybe docker compose up was going to be the answer. Filtering just for Docker commands, we can see there actually is a docker compose up, and we assume this is the command run, and we get it right. For task 4, we essentially need to determine the URL of a vulnerable GitHub repository that the elves cloned for testing. Filtering just to the GitHub JASOON events shows a compare field that looks to contain something called dvws node. Immediately, my thoughts began to think of damn vulnerable web something. And going to the URL, we found that it was the damn vulnerable web services repository that was forked from Snoopy Security. This gives us the URL and the answer to the challenge. For task 5, Santa has asked Eddie to add a JavaScript library from npm to the partner API project. We had to determine the name of the library and record it here to answer the questions. Querying for an image containing the term node, essentially using the process creation events, we get a number of hits. I messed up looking for npn. Not only was this not node, which I should have been looking for, but it is an npm, which is the node package manager. I couldn't pinpoint what npn was, and that's because it has nothing to do with npm or anything to do with this particular challenge. Changing queries to look for npm in the command line was more effective, and we find the answer is likely holiday utils.js. For task 6, we have to capture the full process name of anything that looks suspicious based off of another elf's query. We'll move this query into verbose mode to get events, and by simply clicking on the process name events on the left-hand side, we see nc.openbsd, which we suspect to be our answer. NC, we begin to believe, is a variant of netcat, which is sort of like the Swiss Army knife for network connections, and what we used to catch our reverse shell in the previous printer challenge. Take me back to those painful days. For task 7, we use our previous query and take the parent process ID to view other commands run by it. The issue is that we need to look for network events, but it doesn't show the parent process ID in the network events that we have. So we need to look at the process creation event tied to the process ID that ran netcat.openbsd. Then we need to count the number of files that were accessed in this particular command in some way, shape, or form. We don't know if we need to use file access events, but we continue to look. Using the PID for bin bash and remove the previous PID from our previous query, we find a command line that actually contains a cat command on a number of files. We just count the number of files that have been counted by this command, and that gives us the answer of 6. For task number 8, we have to look at sysmon process creation to identify the name of the bash script that accessed sensitive files and likely transmitted them to a remote IP address. I messed this up by putting in hotelutils.js, misidentifying the working directory as the script that kicked it off, and yeah, that's not the best way to do that. To find the answer, we walk the process tree, essentially pivoting from each individual parent process ID until we find the script. Doing this, we find a netcat command to 54.175.69.219 on port 16842, which is likely the exfil that was talked about. I also found a deleted file reference in temp, which was captured, and essentially thought this may have been the script and the answer expected, but nah, your boy Jaya was wrong again. I also found a deleted file. Eventually we see a parent process including the name preinstall.shell, which is our answer. We get the answer and Santa says, "You're a whiz." Honestly, all I could think of once again was a Harry Potter reference, and that Santa was in fact HAGRID from Harry Potter, and that he was going to offer us a letter to go to Hogwarts. I had problems entering the answer as, well, let's just watch the footage. "You're a wizard, Harry. You're a wizard." It's funny because Santa's beard is sort of like Hagrid, so it's pretty good. This will be interesting. Am I supposed to do it with the exclamation mark? Sure, let's give it a shot. A whiz. Oh, that's incorrect. A whiz. A whiz. It's just whiz. It's not a whiz. You are just whiz, and it's not exclamation mark. But thank you so much. We got there in the end and smashed through the particular Splunk challenge. So that 3 candy trees, I guess, is now complete.